Quay, welcome to another video. It's a morning video, so it's going to be a short video, and so that's a good thing. um, I'm just going to start by sharing my screen since it is a short video. I came across this and I kind of decided, maybe it's time to, you know, try to bring some things to light if we can. Um, as you can see, this is from the office of the mayor of Chicago. It's Rahm Emmanuel, and I think we should remember this guy. He kind of made headlines like they often do when he was in office as the mayor of the city of Chicago. So this document is he's proclaiming we'll jump down real quick. What is this? We now therefore I, Rahm Emmanuel, mayor of the city of Chicago, do hereby proclaim January 8th through the 15th of 2012 to be Moorish-American Week in Chicago, and urge all residents to recognize the events planned for this time, dated this 22nd day of December 2011. Rahm Emmanuel, Mayor. Okay, so that's what this is. It's a short document, and then underneath there's some other slides. So, well, let's just see if we can read some of this. The proclamation says, whereas the Moorish-Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hamathites, what? Hamathites, Lord. Hamathites, Hamathites. I never saw it written that way before. And Canaanites, who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa. And I think I want to pause there because I think that's the first problem when you're claiming to be indigenous to America. So in the corporation's world, and we are in the corporation's world, I think what I'm noticing about America is the corporation has a mindset that America was basically totally uninhabited. So, along with the list of other things that point to the fact that we have to get out of the corporate construct, this is one of them. The corporation, when you sign on to this entity, you must take on some basic, shall we say, tenets. One of them being that America is truly, in their world, the new world. So they're not of a consensus that there was anyone here in the Americas. What we as American Indians are doing is groundbreaking, okay? And we really need to be committed to this because we're breaking all the rules and we're breaking out of a corporate construct. We have to get out. If I keep saying that, Mr. Peel is going to start asking me for money. You know, he made the movie Get Out. I think she might feel some kind of way, but I do give him that credit of that movie. Actually, no, it was us that really spoke to the American Indian dilemma. But yeah, we have to get out. And I'm talking about a clean break. As we read through this document, I think what I mostly want to get out of this is that here you have an organization of Moors. And I think, like many of us American Indians, they feel that they can join, be in some sort of partnership with a dead thing. A corporation is a dead entity. And even in some of the more orthodoxical religions, you don't really mingle with dead things if you're a living thing. But you see, the corporation has a remedy for that. It's going to how do we say this? It's going to make you a dead entity. Do you see the ritual that we are involved in here? Do you see why we as American Indians have to crawl out of the crypt? Again, adding to our list, our litany of reasons why we don't want to be incorporated or in a corporation, in a dead thing. Along with assuming that America was totally uninhabited, you might say dead, it has to kill you ritualistically. Okay, some people say that it's a cult. It's a Roman cult. The one man calls it. I think that's Mr. Glenn Fern. He's very much aware of the cult aspect of this, and I think we could learn something from that. So when you attach yourself to a dead entity, you are not going to make that entity any more alive. But it, in fact, is going to, again, make you a dead entity. This is what we're giving up when we incorporate, when we engage the notion that our sovereignty is in a dead thing. Dead things don't need sovereignty. And this corporate entity is not going to provide it to you. And as we read through this is a very short document. We're just gonna, I think we're going to see some of the red flags. Okay, so let's continue. We the first problem with this document is It's mixing apples and oranges, you know, dead with living, Africa with America, foreign with, well, we saw the word indigena. Let's just say foreign with original people of the land, okay? Whereas, start again, please. Whereas the Moorish-Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites. That's actually a problem too. Uh, Once again, we are carding all people of color as if we all just had this one, you know, identity as Moabites. Um, so you almost would think that somewhere in this form of Islam, that yeah, that I think they do believe that all whites, or quote unquote Caucasians, are also from, you know, a some you know, one you know, it's just, it's overgeneralizing, as a corporation likes to do with people of color, just lump us all together, you know. It's so disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. um well, okay, so here we go. So the Moorish-Americans, you see, let's stop one more time. Moorish-American. See, we're going for American, right? American Indian. So there's another problem we missed. Moorish American. That just reeks of foreign, right? And then the claims that the Moors are making is another thing we're missing, is that of a colonizer. They're saying that old pharaohs of Kemet, and somehow I feel that's a problem. You know, I feel like, wouldn't you need to name that pharaoh? Wouldn't you have to show some paperwork for this, if you were going to be in this system? But just another broad suite, old pharaohs. How many did you need? That now pharaohs, their rule would last, you know, through dynasty, you know, a long time. So when you say old pharaohs, that has a time frame. It'd be better to say an old pharaoh, because it kind of legitimizes what you're trying, you know, the bullshit that you're trying to pull off here. When you say old pharaohs, how many pharaohs? You know, they, again, their rule was, I would say, pretty lengthy, you know, you know, old pharaohs. So you had to get more than one pharaoh? Is that how you're legitimizing this bullshit? So Moorish-American, see, that's the problem. Moors, American Indians are Americans. And we have to make it very clear to the Moors, you know, we do this with brotherly love and all of that, you know. I'm tired of getting upset over them. It's like, we should be laughing. Just this document alone is a source of humor. And this is something that they are promoting, and I don't think they see how they need to look at it. Well, they're doing the best they can, right? They're foreigners that have to, you know, do their best to pull this off. But again, what American Indians have to say is, oh, you're a colonizer, right? Right? Because if you were from America, yeah, first of all, you wouldn't need pharaohs to tell you, give you permission. I'm going home. Bye, pharaoh. I'm heading home right now. Let my people go back home, please. Just like you did with the other people. The Moors, I think they have a severe case of cognitive dissonance. They're trying, their minds are already programmed, just like in any religion. So they don't see these blaring issues, problems. What they're not saying is that they got put out by the same pharaohs or the same. Actually, let me look at that again, because it was the people. I do somehow I'm because to my knowledge, it was not just a group of people that got expelled from America. It was also the priesthood that we're dealing with right now. So again, the thing that's not being talked about is how did you? Well, they're going to say that everybody originated in Africa. That's their answer to that. But we as American Indians, we have to factor in the expelling. Unfortunately, that's what. See, they admit to something where they need permission, and then from there it's blurred because they duplicate everything. There's an Egypt in America, right? But that's the first one. And there's an Egypt in Africa. So now it's just a matter of someone having the clarity to know which one they got expelled from. They can't really admit that they got expelled from America. They can't do it because they're gonna have to tell you why. Right? And then you're gonna realize your entire religion, what you're trying to get me to believe, is why you got kicked out. On that note, I want to say this. We didn't even get into the doctrine, but it's it's not actually one page, but this part is one page. On that note, I kind of, we've had a big break between videos. And what has been on my heart, the ancestors are so I don't know the word, gracious. I feel like what's been on my heart is, well, how would oh God, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but how would desperate Moors, desperate to be American Indian, how could American Indians accept them? And I'm going to say something very profound. And when it hit me, I realized I don't think I could argue with that. What would a Moor have to do to be accepted as uh, as what? Accepted by American Indians. I'm gonna give to them what they give to us. You have to change your entire outlook. When an Indian becomes a Moor, he has to accept a new religion. So for a Moor likewise to become connected, they would have to give up that colonizer religion. a lot of people think that religion has nothing to do with the struggle that American Indians are in, and unfortunately, that's the farthest thing from the truth. Uh, it is a huge factor, unfortunately. We're going in two different directions. One group of people, men and women, I should say, are tying themselves to their most original ancestors. They are uh, they are honoring what was known by their ancestors. So their ancestors, in turn, welcome them. The other group of men and women are chasing foreign deities. There is a point where we can say that, oh, but they're all based on the original ones. But that's a slippery slope. If we take Heru, for instance, now, you know that that's my sort of deity of choice. And Heru shows up. The deities come, I believe, as needed. Heru shows up when you genuinely want your birthright back. I want to say, and have to say it respectfully, Jesus shows up when you're oppressed and you want to make sure that you have an afterlife, because the life you're in, let's just say you're acquiescing to defeat. That's the fairest I could do off the top of my head. So Heru, this deity, and I know y'all like, there you go, talking about deities again. But as I prefaced this, we want to line up our deities. We want to know, are we going back to what our ancestors knew? Or are we going to that which oppressed our ancestors? Heru, unlike Jesus, and why do we compare Heru to Jesus? We do that because they both come from a trinity where something is said about their parentage, their parents. This is the basic similarity between Heru and Jesus. Jesus, I said this once before, is considered half deity and half man. Heru was considered all deity. We didn't worship man. So both Heru's parents are of equal yoke. In the case of Jesus, he's like a half breed. He's not what we would maybe might call a full blood, you know. or full essence. He's half essence. That, you know, we're not going to go deep there, but it has a lot of implications. And again, this is not a disrespect. Let's try to legitimize this as much as we can. There are some people who are half bloods or half, you know, when you're talking about original people, right? So they would need a deity like that. But for original people to take on a deity like that, you're dishonoring at least half of your bloodline, half of your essence. So those are the basic comparisons. I'm not going to go much further than that, but I like that we can all clearly understand the similarity when we look at it from a Trinity point of view. Again, Heru's parents were Osar and Aset. They were both divine. Aset is known as Isis, according to Greek narrative. Osar is known as Osiris, according to Greek narrative. Heru is known as Horus, according to Greek narrative. So they're quite popular outside of American Indian knowledge. You know, they are pretty much well known. I would have to say. The Greeks, the reason why we know the Greek version of their names is because the Greeks would have been the next people to have known our original deities. So you kind of see the pecking order. And then we have some that say the Greeks are actually the Creeks. You know? But that's another rabbit hole that I have not really gone down yet, as of yet. But that would be what would be required of Moors. You have to give it up, Moors. Give it all up. Just like Indians are giving it all up. We're not part of the corporation. The ones who are aware, you know, more aware of where we have to go. Indians are giving up everything that we've known. We have to. This is a sinking ship, y'all. You've been put on the fucking Titanic. Pardon my language. This thing's going down. And when you start hearing that your government is allowing foreigners to vote as well as carry, and we mean as in guns, you have to know something it's terribly wrong. It's desperation time, y'all. But Indians, you're going to be fine. By and large, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And that's all I can tell you. Our colonizer is the master in theater. They'll show you something on the news. That don't mean it's coming to you. But right now, they got to go into high theater. So they're letting us hear things that even hearing them shows you who your government is for and who it is against. The frightening thing here is that when the chips are down and going down quick, It's not just the Indians that they're coming for. We are slowly. I am not like not even reading this document, am I? But yeah, once again, Moors, you say that you're one of us. Well, you better go back to your roots. You better go. We're not going to become you anymore. That was the requirement before. In the new old way, you're gonna come to us. We ain't coming to you into the sea. We ain't not going into. You already had us in that. It's a whole mess. So humble pie is a bitch. But Indians, if you have any entertainings in your mind about joining with Moors, you're going to have to treat them like a corporation. And they're going to have to get up out of that. There is another part, though. The other part is we're not talking about the we are the world type of Moors. No. There is a connection with the melanated Moors. I mean, the ones that would be considered quote unquote black or whatever, you know. And the connection is one that they're not proud of. So that's why they constantly are trying to make us them. Once we become them, they get to take over our land any way they want, you know, because you're following their lead. And that's the thing here. We can no longer follow their lead. They're going to have to follow ours. Once again, I have to be talking to see, because they've joined with every other foreigner, they say, well, those are Moors too. But that's where we're going to check them and say, no, those are the people that you had something to do with bringing here in hopes of taking my birthright. So they have their original homeland. You see, when you really, really look at it without the lens that a Moor is trying to put on your eyes, you're going to realize that they're pulling in everybody. Every race they've been in bed with. Okay, so at some point they're going to say, well, that's some more too. And that's some more, and that's when you know that you've made a grave mistake. Just like the corporation, when they're talking about you know, what do they call it? Affirmative action. We think that it's just for us, right? But the system mimics the people that created it. Affirmative action becomes about everybody but the ones that were used as a sort of ploy to get them on board and give everybody else your what is owed to you. This is what the Moors do. This is what their system does. They get to be anything and everything, but their system, that's where you start to see what's going on here. It's just like what America's doing right now, letting everybody in, and all of a sudden, once again, people of color are not even factored into this. Like, just sit down over there. You know, y'all ain't got nothing to do with this. We running this piece. Not anymore. So I say that with caution. I really don't. I think more should stay where they're most happy, being, you know, dominating people with nobility and uh having like a feudal system, and you only the nobility own the land and everybody else is a serf and they gotta pay you, and that's where the Moor is most happy. I just don't think American Indians have what Moors want besides our land and our resources. They're really not interested in us at all. Yeah. I mean, the more brainwashed think that they care about, American Indians, but that's just the blood, that's just what they have of us in their blood. There's a longing, they want to kind of, but they don't come correct, you know. And yeah, they had their turn, y'all. Look, that's why we're reading about a mayor who's honoring them, not us, right? Okay, so let's finish reading this. And now we saw some of the red flags. Moorish-American is the first one. We're just American, right, Indians? Right. The descendants of the ancient Moabites. Now you go into scripture, right? Because I do believe this is where these words come from, the windmills of the priesthood's minds. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they want a one world order, but then they divide us up first, right? And then we forget that, yeah, there was a time when there was more oneness, and you had to create chaos so you can revamp that oneness and introduce some foreign stuff. Moabites, Hamathites, oh gosh, and Canaanites, Hamathites. I just never saw that word. Who were permitted by the old pharaohs. So who came before? Who stands above Moors? That would be the old pharaohs, right? If the pharaohs are giving these people permission, they are not top banana. That's why they don't want Egypt to be in America. And I think Indians need to start embracing the facts that if you're going to say this is the old world, you got to take what comes with it. Sorry. Egypt was in America, and America was South America. That's what the old map said, okay? It said what it said. I had, I was starting to go down a rabbit hole that I didn't intend to go down when the reality of that hit me, because the only America that Columbus knew was South America. You see? So again, this is where I want to call out to North American Indians to please understand that the Indians of the Caribbean and South America were just the first to go through what you're going through. And that's, again, that's just the reality. It's not bragging rights. It's nothing like that. I would say if we could get outside of the 5 civilized tribes and join together with North American Indians without any civilized tribes, that's how we would have to unite. Now, the civilized tribes, what they say, well, why not us? Well, you said that you're a Moor. So the same thing that the Moors have to do is what you have to do. Give it all up. Yeah, that whole story about Hamites and Moabite, all of that. All of that. Because you're telling us you're from Africa, okay? Out of the kindness of our ancestors' hearts, we're actually going to try to ignore that. But you don't let us, do you? You see why we got to get all the way out, Indians? You see what this package comes with, this little surprise package? Yeah, we got to get all the way out. And if they have a notion that they want to come with us, Again, you got to come all the way out. So many years they have been whispering in our ears, right? And where have we gotten with that? Right here, where they now want to jump on our bandwagon and we can't even see the hijack. So after years, and they still have not made us all Moors, when we start saying we're Indians, here they come again. Like a damn parasite. Your shit is done, right? Oh, you're not finished until you get all of us in that bullshit? It's not happening, Moors. You can pray to set all you want. It ain't happening. He is not the Most High. It's not happening. I want to revisit the story of Heru just this 1 minute. When Heru won his birthright, it is said that all the gods agreed, except, of course, for the one god who wanted his birthright. That would have been Set. Now, he went along with the program because he had no choice. Heru actually won. And I mean, there's some stories that try to say, oh, it was a what do you call it? It was a tie. Okay, either way, at the end of the story, whether it was a tie or a clean win, it was decided by all gods in both stories that the birthright was Heru's, and it certainly was. So that is basically the story of Heru. That's why this energy is so very important at this time. Started out in South America. Okay, so now we have to get to reading, right? Let's see how are we doing on time? Because I surely okay, not so bad. I think about another half an hour, I think. We'll definitely get through this first page. So you see the problems here. I'm sorry, we're taking our time. I know. I'm sorry. And I've been criticized for not just reading the stuff. Sorry. Whereas the Moorish-Americans, we're starting again, are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hammatites, okay, we'll be dignified a little bit, and Canaanites, who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet. That would be America, y'all. They started out in America. The oldest pharaohs started out in America. I don't know if we call them that, but they rename everything, right? So they got permission, y'all. I thought they was large and in charge all around because they had empires, but apparently this wasn't, part of their empire. Permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse. That don't sound like nobility to me, because they, if you got to get permission from East Africa. Well, we need to highlight that, don't we? I done talked about it enough. Let's just highlight. Okay, let's see. Will this work? From East Africa. Okay. Now, this is the Moors, right? This is Mayor Rahm Emmanuel even knows their story, right? This is official. He didn't say they was from America, did he? Rahm Emmanuel. And you know that he's probably down. Yeah, I would say that he's a name like that sounds like he's a Muslim of some sort. I don't know. Maybe he's somewhere he's connected to this. Okay. So Moors, your mayor is saying that you're from East Africa, and then you're wondering why you can't. You are not American. You know, you're a colonizer just like he is, right? So he's like, two can play that game, baby. Let's go all the way with it, but you're gonna pay me, right? I'm coming with you. Don't think you're gonna get this by yourself. I'll play the game with you. We both colonizers. We know what we're doing up in here. Uh-huh. American Indians, if you don't let it go, y'all got to stop being led so much. Y'all got to stop being led. Every time I see a Moor knows how to make your brain think that he's the master of the legal system. You know, he knows more than you, definitely. A colonizer has to. They have to know more than the colonized. A colonizer has to know more than the colonized. That's why the Moors say they're the custodians. That means they have, it's a scary thought, but they have a lot of our information. But what they're doing is reworking that. So that's why it's so appealing to American Indians. It's like it just, you know, it's your ancestors are in there being sacrificed, but some of their words are still ringing true. You know, that's why we get seduced by the Moors so easy. They have your drawers down before you can say stop in the name of love. Wait, then you get the you know, then you get the what was that? The Mickey Mills. I can't believe I just said that. Let's move on. And later formed themselves kingdoms. Oh, later formed yourselves kingdoms themselves, existing from. How they do that, y'all, is I think I figured this out. Once they get a little bit of your blood, that becomes their full blood. Now, in our world, it's like, you know, half blood or less. In their world, baby, you the highest that you can possibly be. Okay? They just need a little bit of you to make a whole lot of them, right? Okay. So they formed themselves kingdoms extending from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So here we go again from Rahm Emmanuel, your mayor. See, you're not supposed to have a mayor, you know, making any statements, you know, for you or whatever, you know. That's you're mixing your apples and your oranges. So once again, Mr. Emmanuel says that you're from Africa. But as a colonizer, you know, you're going to say that the pharaohs allowed you to colonize, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Form themselves kingdoms extending from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So clearly it's a statement that they've even, you know, they got the mayor telling us what they don't seem to know how to say to us, right? So are they telling us that when they came here, they first got with the Washita? Well, actually, no. Let me see, because the Washita is saying that they were formulated from Egyptian priests. Remember, we read that, right? So here we have Rahm Emmanuel basically kind of saying the same thing, right? So once you know, they came from Africa, I think what they're saying is the first Indians that they infiltrated, they called themselves the Washita, and then that became the Choctaw, right? That's the Yamasee, but wait, Choctaw. No, wait a minute. The 5 civilized tribes are Cherokee, Choctaw Creek, Chickasaw, Seminole, right? We left the Creeks out last time. I was so upset. I leave them out. But those are the 5 civilized tribes that are actually Moors, Moor based, right? They came and, got a little band of Indians that they mixed with. And then those Indians, they still don't quite reach the level that they thought they were going to reach, because they're not claiming, and they're not American Indians. Y'all are a result of a colonizer from Africa. Now, these are the ones that got expelled, y'all, okay? We have to be real. I hate to have to insert that part. I really do. America's the old world, and that's when your ducks will line up right. Because if we're saying that, something originated in Africa, they're going to start that bullshit again, out of Africa theory, and that's a lie. America is older than Africa, so they were expelled a long time ago. That's all. And they were expelled because of the same thing that they're bringing us, this monotheism stuff. No matter how it comes, it's not what we believe. It was a serious problem for the ancient people, a serious one that got their asses expelled. And they're still pushing the same religion that they got expelled for. So the first tribe that they're in touch with, founded by priests, they say. Now they consider themselves priests, but that's actually sounds right, because they were the priests that were creating this new religion. They just needed some slaves to support it. So that's why they call those tribes civilized, because they picked up that religion. But then they become so convoluted in their narrative. That's what gets me. They are really trying to push this narrative that there's no, again, boundaries. They want to make boundaries where they want them, and then they want to erase them when they want to. American Indians have to take a very authoritative stand. This is your land, American Indians. That's why you have to do it. I'm not talking about just bossing up for the sake of bossing up. No, I'm not talking about ego. I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about your posterity for years to come. Yeah, you have to take a very authoritative. Don't let no more tell you your history, because he's going to insert himself. And unfortunately, he's going to lie about himself. I think the Moors are keeping the big secret that they're keeping, or convoluting, is the fact that they were kicked out. And don't even touch why they were kicked out, because that'll just ruin everything. But again, it was the religion, y'all. The religion that discredits your ancestors and bigs up theirs, their choice ancestors, right? Okay, so they form themselves kingdoms extending from northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands, onto the present-day continental Americas. And whereas the indigenous, that don't even make sense that after you read the first paragraph. Whereas the foreign Moorish peoples of the Americas, I'm just going to do this for the answers real quick. Why are we doing that? Because the Moors have a problem with time frame, really. They do. That's why they created the whole Gregorian calendar. we're going to X that out, because what that does is it, like we just said, it doesn't factor in the fact that they were expelled. Okay. So you, again, you started as one of us, but that's not what you ended. And this was of your own doing. No one did it to you. See, this is what we have to understand here. They're trying to make us guilty for all kinds of crap, right? But the only one guilty for what happened to you, Moors, is staring you in the mirror. You wanted to go your own way, and you should have kept stepping. You should have kept stepping, because you wanted it both ways. Again, the graciousness of our ancestors was, do it somewhere else. You can't do it here. We're not going to war against you. We act like O positives, okay? We're not like you. We don't try to kill the O positive, okay? That's your job, right? That you're going to be relieved of, because we're not having that over here. So O positive, if we were O negative, we would have just ended them. With some, as you know, best we would have just do what they do. Just get rid of them as best you can, okay? Take a shot at it, okay? You might not get them all, but then we could indoctrinate the rest, okay? So it's like, we was like, well, we ain't going to kill you, none of that stupidness. We're very, what you call civilized. So no, you got to get expelled though, because we can't do it here. No, it's no. So that's the part that Moors have to dance around. And that's the fact that they call themselves Moabites, and that's squarely in scripture. It just tells you that they are part of the religion that we did not accept. Oops. That was, let's get it right, Perula. We did reject that. And it wasn't, again, it's not because we're being arrogant or you're beneath, or none of that. It's that you can't dishonor your ancestors like that, because it won't bode well for you. And I think the Moors know that, and I think they kind of, the high level of them know that if you get these American Indians to dishonor their ancestors, we can do anything we want with them. They will be abhorrent to their ancestors once they start doing what we want them to do, what we need, what we'll have them doing. But you see, our ancestors won't do that to us because they know about your ass. We don't know about you, but our ancestors do. And they knew it was just a matter of time before we started awakening. They knew that. That's why now we have the immigration crisis. We got the COVID vaccine. We got all that. They waited until we were a majority on the land to unleash the Kraken. But they got a big surprise. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But we do need Indians who are dedicated to the separation. Okay. I want to say quickly, we have to change our orientation or our value of money. I said it quickly in the last video, and I have to say it again. Oh, actually, no, I don't think I said it in the video, but I was talking to a dear friend, and sometimes the ancestors come out your mouth, and what came out was, money is the bait that keeps us in the trap. Remember that, because it's facts. When we chase after money, it's an illusion, number one, because it has no value. In and of itself, money has zero value, and the value that they're really giving it is your own energy. So I just want to throw this out there while we're talking about it. I know I'm all over the place. But it's been a while, I had a lot on my mind. I didn't get the call to the video until, this document kind of did it. We have to change our view of money. What American Indians want unequivocally is our land. That's what we want most above all. We will not take money in place of our land. Now, we might, again, we would have the power to rent our land if we want, someone else, whatever, but money can't replace land. And Indians have to get very real with that priority in your soul, because a lot of our Indians, including myself, up until recently, it didn't occur to me this, but we're very money oriented. We're stressing for $1, stressing and pressing for $1. And what we have to understand is that that's our colonizers' creation. It got his face all over it, well, the mask. Let's call that the mask, because the face is actually black. Yeah. We read about the seal, right? And who created that seal on that dollar? The Moors are taking credit for that. They said they wanted a system for themselves and for Europeans, right? So they put their seal on the back of a dollar bill or whatever, the front or the back, whatever. So number one, we're chasing something that the Moors created. We have to start valuing the land as if it's money. That's what actually belongs to us. The dollar, what's the saying? Give to Caesar what's Caesar's. See, it's not yours, y'all. It's just that little bait that keeps you chasing the colonizer. Now, I'm not saying you have to give it up like that. What I'm saying is, in your heart, no. Let it begin in your heart. What that paper represents. We might have to do a part 2. I'm so sorry, because my big mouth, that thing can't. But we will get through this first page, and you will be happy that it's just this first page. Yeah, I think that's how we're gonna have to do it. So whereas the foreign Moorish peoples of the Americas are now united in order to again link themselves with the family of nations. Oh boy. Yeah, I have a problem with that, because their family is outside of the Americas, right? But I guess once they get a stronghold in America, now they feel complete. Now you had the whole world at the palm of your hand and all of that. Slaves everywhere, right? But it's only when you come to America, that you feel that you've arrived. But no, you came with deceit in your wings. So no. So whereas the foreign Moorish peoples of the Americas, that would be the 5 civilized tribes, y'all, not all Indians, are now united and federal. That's how you know it's some bullshit. You see, let me say this. I know I keep stopping. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. They need the corporation where Indians don't need the corporation. The corporation is what gives them a footing on our land, y'all. So they can't really be here without the corporation. If the corporation wasn't here, Moors there would be no way that they could even call themselves in, these words. Well, number one, we know what indigena means, right? It's from England. That word in the first Black's Law Dictionary we saw, indigena means a subject created through either naturalized by Parliament, right? In a realm or something like that. So indigena, it is a form of the word indigenous. I finally figured out because of the wording in the definition. It says naturalized, right? Indigenous shouldn't be naturalized, but in the definition of indigena, it's something Parliament does, right? When they naturalize a subject. It's a subject. That's what it was. Indigena are subject of the monarchy. That's what indigenous is. You're subject of the monarchy. And how we know is because they start talking about having to be naturalized. They're created by Parliament in the realm, and what it has something to do with a realm. Wherever they put you, that's the realm. Okay. So I would say the Moors they hijacked a lot of the words that would describe original people. Aboriginal is one of them, if you break it down through etymology. But I think what's happening is people are ignoring etymology to use the word aboriginal, right? Because original is a word by itself. You stick something in front of it and it doesn't mean original anymore. Okay. It opens the door to other interpretations. It becomes a multi-purpose word, whereas original is not a multi-purpose word. So strike against aboriginal and a strike against indigenous. We're using American Indian until we know better, right? Because this land is called America, but I have to say that you really start to wonder, what is the original name, because their word spells they take them very seriously, and it does provide them with some realm of of authority by just creating the word. That's why it really would be great if I really think they scratched the name off the records. It's just a feeling I have, but because it makes they coming for your land, right? They want your land and they want you off it, right? That would be the thing they would want to rename, is what I'm trying to say, because just naming it is the beginning of taking it, right? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I know that it's a big one, but American Indians might want to. Lord, I can't believe I'm saying it. We might need to name our landmass, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ultimately, when we really on top of this game and we know how word spells work, it would really be it would be the icing on the cake, because not only are we taking our land back, we're going to call it something that we want to call it, it has to come from one of the bloodline Americans, is what I'm really saying, and one of the Americans who have not been tainted with a Moorish doctrine or any foreign doctrine. So somewhere we're not going to call it Turtle Island, unfortunately, either, right? Because the Iroquois have been infiltrated by the same 5 civilized tribes stuff, right? And any tribe that has been federally recognized has been infiltrated, and their doctrines are very sketchy, and they're going to be dubious and all of that. Now they might attack Indians that have not known who we are and say, well, y'all don't know nothing. Y'all don't know. No. That's fine. We don't have all we need to know is that you're fake and we're real. Okay. We had to be misclassified. That's how real we are. And that's real enough for us. So when you get somebody trying to say that you don't know nothing, you don't know, good. You know why? Because all you teach is lies. I need a fresh start. I need a mind that has not been poisoned with your brand of poison. Okay? And we still have not gotten through this document. But I just kind of rubbed me the wrong way where they talk about united with a family of nations. No. That really pisses me off, because a family honors the identity of their family members, not like these Moors. And they will, think that, but we just want to bring you to us and blah, 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 blah. You want us to come under your terms. You insist that we're Moors. If you were real family, you would accept us as where we stand and what we say we are. There is no respect in you. It's not possible. You don't respect boundaries. You just don't respect difference. So you're coming in and that as quiet as it's kept, you're insisting that we're Moors, and you do it every fripping time, man. You do it every time. And then when you're not doing it, you do the little switcheroo. You'll talk what we like to hear, right? About indigenous, that word again. And then before we know it, we agree with you. Then you done flip the script again, talking about how the Moors is the Moors. Like, you know what? At some point, American Indians will realize how very severely disrespectful that is. At some point. Who are you? Don't let anyone define you, especially when they're making you a foreigner. That is the utmost disrespect. You might as well spit in their face, in somebody's face, because you're saying, I don't see you. I said you're this, and then going to argue. That's the thing that's really unique. I think uniquely coming from skin folk. Sorry, another flip. We're not. It's been a while, right? That's another kind of unique feature to kinfolk. They get to argue you down because they are going purely on what you look like, and they think they have the right to tell you about yourself and blah 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 blah. We got to be on guard for that. That's the worst kind of opponent, is the one that looks like you. It's the one that looks like you, because they're coming from a place of they as if they know you more than anyone on the planet. Yeah, your indoctrination has a view of me that you have adopted. That's what you know. You don't know me because you won't even hear me. I'm telling you who I am, and you're arguing with me, telling me that I don't have the right. Basically, that's what you're saying. I don't have the right to self-identify. You're going to tell me who I am. You better get out of my face with that mess. Whereas the Moorish-Americans being Aboriginal is that word? Abo. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. 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 Uh, well, for them, it would work. For Indians, it doesn't work. They are Aboriginal because that's a word spell. Whereas the Moorish-Americans being Aboriginal, aborting original, to the territories of North, Central, and South Americas, have formed a sovereign theocratic government guided by the command principles of love. Look, let's get something very clear here. Their governments are also called empires. Empires are Roman. So when they say government, it's not what Indians will mean when we say government. Although we might have to just change that word. We really don't want anybody governing our mental, okay? Not when they're foreign, or they've been so severely indoctrinated as to become foreign. There was a place where foreigners could meld with Indians, but you took on the Indians' ways. And what the Moors are doing are making you take on their ways. They're a they are a foreign mixed entity. Taking on their ways makes you a foreign. I don't care what they say. They talk out of two sides. I'm sorry. That's just the truth. You know, it's just the truth. They are the foreign element. They've done everything to support foreign entities on this earth. Now they'll say that they were quote unquote civilizing them. No, you weren't. You were indoctrinating them. You know, even though that civil word is kind of, you know, we got to look at that at some point, but it was an indoctrination more than a what we know of as a civilization. It was indoctrination. And it had to do with making half-bloods or less feel as entitled as if they were full blood. That's another thing with this entire construct. So then they come for the full bloods because they'll always be threatened by the full-blooded Indians. Always. That is the O negative thing, that they always coming for you as an O positive, you know? They always coming for you. They can smile in your face and all of that. At the end of the day, you're a threat to them. You are a threat because their new quote unquote world order consists of any foreigner being as if they are original to land masses that they are not original to. That's what they want. Then they can be here. And once they indoctrinate you, you'll take on everything that they believe, and so that they'll literally take your place and you won't even know it. They'll say the one who owns this property agrees with me having it. So who can stop if the owner is giving it all his shit away? Who's gonna stop the transaction? They're gonna say, oh, he agreed to this. That's how their contracts are mostly non-disclosed, undisclosed. That you don't know what you're contracting into because of the word spells, the legalese. And then before you know it, what you had is now shared with the foreign. And then more foreign influence come while you die down. That is what the civilized tribes have agreed to. Okay? That's why This awakening is not for civilized tribes. You better depart from them. They've already made their deals. And I think it's, again, the only way you can come back is to give all that shit up. And I'm not saying that as if I want you to come back. I really, it's not personal. It's just that I realized it was so hard to get to this place of knowing that what a foreigner is and how a foreigner operates, that I would hate to be seduced into it again. And I'm really, and so that's why I personally, I can't even fathom really entertaining indoctrinated Indians in my mind. It's like I have no patience, really. I have no time for it because it will fuck you up. Let me just say it plain. It will. They are very well versed in their own story. That's why it's like an Indian, trying to get at the truth it's like the hardest thing because they are over indoctrinated and we're indoctrinated into their narrative, but we are under indoctrinated in our own story, so they take advantage of that and they keep filling your head with all their, tying you back to the Bible and all of that. No, that's for you. That's for you, Moors. That's your Bible. Your King James, who was a Moor. I wonder how people feel about this new series coming out about King James. They're going to go into denial again. That's what they do. That's just what they do. Whereas the Moorish-Americans, not Americans, being aboriginal, yeah, that word would work for them, not us, to the territories of North, Central, and South Americas. No, you're not. We just, the first paragraph told us where you're from. What you did was conquer North, Central, South America, and then you thought that we were you. That's what you did. You conquered, but it was one of those conquerings that was more about religion and forcing it on people than anything. Have formed a sovereign theocratic government. If I had more time, I'd look it up right now, but no. Guided by the command principles of love, that's not even possible. Truth, that's not possible. Peace, that's not possible. Freedom, you mean liberty? That's what you mean, don't you? Freedom and liberty are two different things. You're not guided by these principles. I'm looking at them and I'm telling you that you're not. It's not possible. Not when you're colonizing people. It's not possible. There is no love. Loving me means respecting me as who I tell you I am. And it means that I don't have to be you. Truth, well, that's a no-brainer. Peace, no, we're in a constant state of war here in the United States. Even with all of this going on, are you speaking here? The truth of the matter is America's in a constant state of war. That flag we see is a war flag. The flag with the horizontal stripes is a war flag, and it's the only flag most Americans know of. Now, if the Moors were on top of their game, they would, we hear something about this, but it's, martial law has never been undeclared. So we're not at a state of peace right now. Not through the protocols that should have been implemented. We're in a state of war. Or every time they have a war on this or a war on that, that's actually a declaration of war, a war on drugs. And then we're in martial law and no one even knows that. The Moors should know. Oh God. But see that we got when I think about that document that we read, and the Moors basically said that they set up this government, there's no excuse why they don't know what it's about, right? Because they told us in that document, the Washita told us that uh, the Moors wanted to stop all the fighting that they started on the land. And so they created a two-system government. That's what we read. So this is your government, Moors, and your dollar bill, right? And watch, they're gonna lie about it. They're gonna lie. No, we got defeated. They took over us and beat us up, and we couldn't do nothing about it. That's the story you always. That's your whole story is the pivotal point of your story. It's not how you conquered, right? It's how you got defeated and then disappeared, right? Yet you still want to own everything, but you're not even here, right? You just disappeared. That you like when the going gets tough, you dematerialize, right? Again, the biggest part of your story, if we really look at it with clarity, is not how you conquered, it's how you disappeared after you conquered, quote unquote conquered. You disappeared, right? You got the best magic act in the damn world, the disappearing act. That is actually what you're a master of. Um, oh, there's a big problem right here, right? So their theocratic government, yeah, this is their government. All this mayors and stuff. The mayor is working basically, if we go by what they told us, he's working for them, right? They created this government, the two-system government, right? That the real American Indians got put at the bottom of that system, right? And they telling us they created it, right? What more do we need to know? When are we gonna line up our ducks? You want to learn from the Moors so bad, right? You think they have this like wonderful knowledge for you, but then you never wonder why they have it in the first place. And you never wonder why they never used it and never addressed us. If the Moors, I said this before, if they were good Moors, they would never address us at all. They'd be too busy attacking this system that we're in. And then we just get the benefits from there, right? Because they would be indigenous, but the problem is they're not. But again, I'm using that word spell. They would be original people fighting a system that has oppressed us for centuries. But again, the problem is they're not original to this landmass. Not the way American Indians are. I'll put it that way. They are compromised. You might say they're an exiled people. But again, it was a self-imposed exile. No one got aggressive with them and just, again, bossed up on them like that. They willfully chose to discredit and dishonor our most ancient ancestors. Why did they have to do that? Because especially after they got expelled, they had to present the world with a new narrative. And the new narrative says that America is a brandy new world. You can't come back home when you set that narrative lie. out there like that. You don't know what else would. Well, they are starting to say it now that America is older, but they have no choice at this point. You see, they have to mimic what the ancestors are doing. They literally have to act like they're on board with this. It's a hard time to be a Moor, I have to say. It has to be. Because right now you are cutting corners like I don't know what, yo. They gotta modify them lies. And again, I do this. I'm not advocating any kind of like violence against the Moors. This is completely it's all indoctrinal. It's getting rid of an indoctrination, and you have to be very vigorous with it. And you gotta put them in their place because they won't stay there. So that's the aggressive part, is trying to let them see themselves through the eyes of American Indians. And instead of them always looking at us through their eyes. It's very important if you're sovereign to do that. You have to look at someone, stand away, and look at them. Okay. You can't let them look at you and tell you who you are. That's what this government has been doing. And we can't let anyone do that to us, even and especially when they look like us. But that's what the Moors are going to do. They're going to hypnotize you. Look into my eyes. I am you and you are me. We're one big happy family. That's what they're doing, y'all. That's what they're doing. They don't know it. I mean, maybe we could give them that. Maybe they don't realize, but I'm telling you that by denying American Indians their own place and constantly inserting yourself, it's selfish, arrogant, disrespectful, and you're not telling us the whole truth, because that really would be we would know why we can't join with you. You got expelled, y'all. That's why you ran out to the rest of the world. A world that you created. Then you want to recreate us. Whereas the Moorish-Americans, being Aboriginal, yeah, that's their word, to the territories of North, Central, and South Americas, have formed a sovereign theocratic government guided by the committed command principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and through virtue of the universal right to self-determination. That is something that I just said they deny us, right? I'm glad we read that, because they don't allow us to self-define if we don't include them, right? So, right, that got colonizer written all over it, y'all. So they talk about, they have the mayor saying that they believe in that they're got Moorish-Americans, not American Americans, through virtue of the universal right to self-determination, as well as with the Declaration of the Rights of Subject States, we read, is what the hidden meaning of this declaration, right? Guaranteed in the charter. When King James came here, he had to get all that stuff popping, charters and stuff. So we all know automatically that this language is dealing with corporations or monarchies and their corporations. The corporation is how they subjugate you without you knowing that you've been made a subject to the king. You standing in something he created called a corporation. And all you're going to do is become just like him, even though you say, no, I'm just a corporation, unincorporated. So you put a little word in front, a little prefix in front of his word, and you think that means you're not a corporation anymore. Okay. So yeah, once that, that's another red flag right here. because we broke down the Declaration of the Rights of Subject States, right? That's what indigena means. Subject and peoples are states, right? That's the different, they added those words, whatever. Well, indigena, I think that's literally something they created. But it could be the same with people. Either way, they are multi-purpose words. Okay, indigenous, same root. Okay. Whereas on January 8th, 1886, Noble Drew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina, destined to become the first patriot of his mentally enslaved Moorish-American people. It wasn't just a mental slavery, y'all. It was a political slavery. And the Moors told us that they created this government, right? And then I had to wonder, well, the Iroquois kind of say the same thing. They say that the Great Law of Peace is basically the groundwork for the Constitution, right? But like I said, they should have just wrote it and left it at that, not wrote it and then be a model that the colonizer could copy, so then he gets creative rights and authority. So there's somewhere a tie, and we kind of saw it in a few of the last videos with the Iroquois and the Washita and all of that, right? And the 5 civilized tribes. What did we name them to be? Cherokee, Chickasaw, Creek. Oh, what's that? Oh boy. Zabadal, Choctaw. When you see or hear people talking about these tribes, they are infiltrated. Now, a lot of them have popped up recently because of the awakening. And they seem to talk a good game because they how do I say this? They have other interests outside of the Americas. I think that's the best way to put it. Because their ties are outside of the Americas when they're civilized. They're mixed because some kind of marriage has to take place, right? Some kind of birth has to occur, or several births, and so they're mixing. But as we noted, their side of the family is being genocided because all the other Indians are not included, right? Just the civilized ones. So you're allowing your foreign husband to genocide your side of the family, and you think that's going to fly? Or you want us to be civilized like you? You think that's going to work? So then we all be dummies up in this piece? Nah. Y'all stay civilized, okay? See where that leads you. Because it's going to lead you right off this landmass if you put your money where your mouth is. Again, this is not personal. Indians have to choose whether they want to be compromised Indians, always welcoming foreigners to the point that the foreigners start to want your land more and more and more and more, and you wondering why. Wondering why America looked the way it looked today? That's partly your fault, civilized tribes. Noble Drew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina. Oh boy, state of North Carolina. Destined to become the first patriot of his mentally enslaved Moorish-American people. In 1912, he was later anointed, oh Lord, as El Hajj. Oh, there we go. He got renamed, y'all. That's what these Indians are doing, allowing foreigners to rename them and give them you taking on their names and word spells and coming back here talking about you an Indian. You're an Indiet. Indian idiot. But you're not an Indian, okay? That would be a upgrade. But you give me an Indiet. Okay, so he got, see, when you get christened and all of that, you take on these other names. That's helping your colonizer, yo. That's a spiritual thing that's going on. That's why you have to come strong against these energies. They've already gotten you to, when you got baptized and you got anointed and all this shit. So you basically they're taking your ancestors right off of you. They are casting your ancestors out of your body in a spiritual way, and they're killing your ancestor with it, the spirit of your ancestors being exercised by a fucking demon, taking all these foreign names. Don't you see what's happening here? Noble Drew Ali in a place where there was in your system ain't supposed to be no nobles, and America wasn't even supposed to be about nobles according to what we're told. There's no nobility, right? So what they're saying is you either be in a corporation or you be in a nobility. Either way, you're still not really owners of your land. The nobility own your land, not you. So they want either a caste system nobility or a corporation, and both take you off the land. So that's why we got to come strong and tell these folks to move right along. Go to started out saying you from Africa. That's the truth. You were expelled to Africa. And then you started, going around the world, creating like an army to come up against the Americans, an army of foreigners to come up against America. And then you want them all here. And where do you expect us to go? To hell, right? Nah, the grave you dig is going to be your own. In 1912, he was later anointed. See, that's a problem. By the heads of Egypt. Now, this is the Egypt in Africa, yo. Because by this time, our Egypt is long, not even spoken about, right? So in 1886, you're talking about Egypt and that's talking about Egypt when it was Islamicized. The original Egypt and even the one in Africa wasn't Islamic. Maybe on the down low, but they didn't tell the people that. But yeah, the original Egypt, no, even the one in Africa it did not begin Islamic, Now I would say it began monotheistic though, because that's what Akhenaten was about. He was trying to push Aten, which is wink, wink, amen on the down low, because, they were all Amen Hotep the third, Amen Hotep that, Amen Hotep, So really, they were really pushing Amen, not Aten. That's just one of those things they tell us because they don't, they're trying to cover up a little bit. Aten is nowhere to be found right now, right? But Amen is all over the place, right? Well, that's the deity that they created. It was Ra, and now they made him into Amen. They word spelled him out of existence. It started out Ra. It turned into Amen Ra. And as of today, it's just Amen. That's how a word spell works over the years. Slowly over time, your brain starts to think of them as one and the same when they're not. And then at the end of it all, you're left with only one of them. And that's the doppelganger. That's the changeling. That's the duplicate. But it's not, it's a duplicate that has been compromised. And it is no longer the essence of what it originally was. And that's what the Moors are trying to do with all American Indians. Change your essence from pure Indian to you come like many things like they are. Now we know that there's Moors that are Asian, Caucasian, African, right? So that's what the Moors want you to be part of that committee. We are the world and all of that, right? So you won't be an Indian anymore. It's the point, okay? And then your land can be up for grabs as well, right? Once they get rid of you, your land is free for the taking because you're going to think you, them, and they're going to say that they're you, right? Okay. So he got the heads of Egypt and Mecca. See, he started off indoctrinated to return to the United States as the last prophet and founding father of the newly risen nation of Moorish-American. As a result of the 13th Amendment, oh Lord, that's one of those amendments that wasn't in the original Constitution, right? There was only 4 in the original Constitution. All the others infiltrated, compromised, unlawful. So if we talk about the 13th Amendment, we were in trouble. Moorish people were emancipated from slavery. Now that even sounds ridiculous now that we know who was emancipated. It was the children of the Indians, right? Oh boy, a rabbit hole just started digging in my mind, and I don't want to go there because I'm wondering now, was it these Moorish Indians that were treating their people so bad? You know what I'm saying? Because they have a wonderful way of trading places with you. They'll do something looking like you, and then they'll say that you did that. You were so mean to your family, raping the women and all of that, right? That was them. I think that's how this takeover took place. They came over and started doing things looking like us, right? And then they said we did those things. But how come we not? Uh, well, I was gonna say how come we not doing that now, but um, I want to say this, and it might sound offensive, but nobility are known to intermarry, which means they'll have sex with members of their own family, right? But if they create a religion that makes that a sin, so they're doing a couple of things. They're breaking up the nobility because of it's a sin to mate with your own family, right? But that's what they're built upon, right? Basically, they when they're quote unquote trying to keep their quote unquote bloodline pure, they mate with their own people, right? But when they create a religion that says it's a sin, that has the effect of you not keeping it in your bloodline, right? It's just food for thought. I'm not saying go out and get jiggy with your cousin. I'm just saying. uh it's just funny how things it flips when it's in their world. uh you know, it's conceivable, but they make it like it's the big taboo in the real world, but then that's where they're taking over. They're taking over the real world. Um, so yeah, it may, you know, as I read this, it makes me think that hmm, was it these Negro Moors that were you know, doing all this raping and stuff? Because remember, they were criminals too, right? These people that got dumped here. It's just something to think about. It's just a, one of those things where you're being painted a certain way and you kind of don't see, you know. Anyway, so he was the founding father of the newly risen nation of Moorish-Americans as a result of the 13th Amendment. That's a problem. Moorish people were emancipated from slavery in 1865. That is so, oh my gosh. I don't know. That is problematic. It's just kind of double talk. Oh, we reached the bottom of this. So now, therefore, we read that's already. Therefore, I, Rahm Emmanuel, Mayor of the city of Chicago, do hereby proclaim January 8th through the 15th, 2012, to be Moorish-American Week in Chicago and urge all residents to recognize the events planned for this time. Dated this 22nd day of December, 2011. Rahm Emmanuel. The page, what we're not going to cover right now is this, and there's a few other pages after this, but I want you to, kind of see here. The word person in legal terminology is perceived as a general word, which normally includes in its scope a variety of entities other than human beings. Okay. Also, there was a case, Church of Scientology versus U.S. Department of Justice in 1979. One of the very first of your state statutes will have a section entitled definitions. So statutes have to define or redefine words, right? Carefully study this section of the statutes and you will find a portion that reads similar to this excerpt. In constructing these statutes, and each and every word, phrase, or part hereof where the context will permit, the singular includes the plural and vice versa. 2, gender-specific language includes the other gender and neuter. Number 3 is the one we want to look at. The word person includes individuals, children, firms, associations, joint ventures, partnerships, estates, trusts, business trusts, syndicates, fiduciaries, corporations, and all other groups or combinations. However, note, however, the definition statute, sorry, I'm good. Got to go to breath. Yeah. Note, however, the definition statutes does not list man or woman. Therefore, they are excluded from all these statutes. So he's saying that none of the statutes mention a man or a woman. So we literally have to do word searches. I think that's pretty much the case. But I guess I would like to close on this. I mean, there's more to this document, but I did want to show this part. The word person includes individuals, children, firms, associations, joint ventures, firms, partnerships. Now, I thought anyway, estates, trust, business trusts, syndicates. So these are your doppelgangers that share what belongs to you, is what I'm reading. As a man or a woman, if you allow this system to make you a person, then all your shit can belong. Your trust is a person, right? But if you're here, why do you need a trust? You're a man or woman. You don't need a fictitious entity to own your shit as a person. This is why we got to get all the way out. We got to forget everything that we knew, y'all. We got to go back to basics, basically. Again, trade doesn't need a third party regulating it. Here's the regulation in trade. Say I and my foreign friend, we're going to trade apples and oranges or whatever, right? Here's the regulation. Yo, this orange don't look right. I ain't taking this. Okay. You can get that back, and make a discount or whatever, trade, But so in other words, the two people can regulate their own trade, y'all. I'm sorry. The whole idea that we need regulation, I think, is a superficial notion. You don't need regulation like that. If you do, you don't need to be it shouldn't be a paid regulation, because that drives up, so he's looking to get paid, is what I'm saying. The third party is going to look to get paid for his services. So we got to really figure out, do we need those services? Like, in other words, if I can cut my own grass, do I need to pay somebody to cut it? Or do I want to cut that cost? And I do it the way I like it anyway. I don't like when they do it, because don't do it right. So we got to realize we have options. We don't need regulation. That's something that was imposed on us as if people are going to be looking to cheat you. Again, if the orange don't look right, I ain't taking this. I ain't going to get cheated. But we've got to figure out what kind, if we're going to have some kind of quote unquote regulation, we really got to limit that regulation, because as we see, that's all the Indians were in the Constitution for. They mentioned us because they were supposed to be regulating the commerce between us and the colonists, evidently, right? But we never even got to do commerce because they was coming for our land right away with the quickness. So that's how they regulated us out of the equation. So you got to watch your regulators if you're going to have any. And on that note, I think I'm going to close now, because you know me, I start preaching, I can't stop. And now I got 10 minutes to get ready for work. I'm going to go to work looking like a hot mess. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a while. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Till next time, peace, health, wealth, your land back, your identity back, and all the great things. Be and stay highly favored, and have a great sunny April day. Or well, we didn't call it April. I don't know if that's the name. Have a great one, y'all.